So we got some extremely big news yesterday. Lots of big news, lots of things happening in Ireland. Anyway, I want to fill you in on the men's adoration this year, which is happening on the 23rd of November. That's the eve of the feast of Christ the King. The men's adoration is happening in St. Joseph's Church, Galliagh, if Fairview Road in Derry. I'm going to put details below, and you can click on the link below. The adoration will happen from 2:30 to 5:30 in that church. That's a parish. It's a church that the Franciscans of the Renewal have in Derry, and there will be a talk by one of them. Won't be me, but there will be a talk from 6 to 7 in the hall there, and there will be refreshments there, and then we will have mass in that parish. It's the ordinary evening vigil mass of Christ the King in that parish at 7:15, and I do encourage people to come that day, that Saturday the 23rd of November. Obviously, the big part of this is adoration and confession. Really, really, really important. I didn't realize how important this is to our Lord when I organized it 2 years ago. Sometimes we can just reject these inspirations and let them go, but our Lord was very, very, very clear with me that he wanted this, that he wants people using these sacraments to arrive to him. I will give you just a little bit of a story about what happened this year, because there are other people that can corroborate my story. I'm not going to say it publicly, but we've been scouting for a location for this event with different people, with different priests, different locations. And doors have been closed successively in our faces for many reasons. And, I'm not here to judge it. And, there was a group of religious who did want to host it, but they didn't have the capacity to host the event. And I suppose I couldn't, and we would have had to have restricted it. And I deeply felt our Lord didn't want this restricted. He said, throw out the nets, get the nets out. You do the possible, throwing the net, and I'll bring in who I want to bring in. And as people will know, I said, Lord, if you want this to happen, I'll do the possible, but help us. So somebody reached out to me and said, look, Robert, can we use the Franciscans in the church in Galliagh? I sent an email off to the PP. The PP approved it. We were just waiting to make sure everybody was on board, that there was no confusion. Because after the Derry event 2 years ago, I had promoted another location and hadn't got all of the required permissions. And while approval was given in principle, it just fell through at the end. And sometimes you think of something so simple that it should just happen, and forget that you have to work with everybody in the church, and you have to make sure that it's all well organized. So we were just back and forth, just making sure everything was well organized. And I suppose yesterday morning, that person that's helping me in Derry to organise this event, he said, yeah, Robert, go with it. He's spoken to everybody. I emailed the PP just to make sure that he was okay. I didn't want, any confusion about this. Make sure that, we had everybody's blessing at the end of the day. So I sent out the flyer yesterday for the men's adoration on WhatsApp. Would you believe the week before, people were using this WhatsApp group, were trying to destroy this WhatsApp group? You would not believe what is happening to me trying to organize this. 3 hours of adoration and confession. You would not believe the battle I've had with this. I kid you not. To the point I said, Lord, I give up. I give up. And our Lord says, no, Robert, this has to happen. You have to do this. I said, Lord, okay, I'll do it, but it's a crucifixion. It really is a crucifixion to try and organize something like this. And that's not just to say poor Robert for doing it. I mean, everything has been shoved against stopping the confession and the adoration. I suppose that's who the other fellow tries to do. But anyway, yesterday, All Saints' Day, the morning. We got the all clear from all the parties. Everybody was on board. There was no confusion. Go with it, Robert. Use Galliagh Church. Beautiful church. Love this church in Derry. Absolutely beautiful for many reasons. Look at my video on the 6th of January of this year, my birthday. Just came back from that church. To give you an idea how much I love this church. So, and I didn't organize this. This is like our Lord has sent people to help us with this. But anyway, yesterday morning got the all clear to promote this in 3 weeks' time, 23rd of November. So I sent out the flyer, on the different groups on WhatsApp, and I said I'll do a video today to promote the men's adoration, 23rd of November. No sooner had I sent out the flyer, like within 2 or 3 hours, news started going around that the cause for canonization for Sister Clare Crockett was going to be open in Madrid in the new year. I said, "Is this real? Is this real?" Her sisters had confirmed it. The Home of the Mother, the Home of the Mother had confirmed that her cause for canonization was going to be opened. And I said, well, God, this is great timing. This is great timing. The Long Tower put out a post on Facebook that has gone viral around the world. The Long Tower Church being the place where we had the first 2 years of adoration. The reason we're not having it there this year is just so people are aware. It's not because the Long Tower doesn't want to host it. It is because they had an event on that day. So Father Jared Mungan, he told me last year. So it's in case of people are wondering, it's not that the Long Tower has anything against the men's adoration this year. They had an event on, so that's why we scouted for a new location. But I suppose that they put out the post yesterday that the cause for canonization for Sister Clare Crockett was going to be open. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to tie in something regarding the men's adoration and the confession with the life of Sister Clare Crockett, right? And I do encourage people to get this book. You can get it in Knock Bookstore. They have copies of this still available. Sister Clare Crockett, Servant Sister of Home of the Mother. And the thing that I want to draw you into, right? The place that I want to draw you into here, in the Great Commission, when Christ says, "Go and make disciples of all the nations," right? We see in Sister Clare a whole catechesis of discipleship. So her life speaks of that discipleship. Christopher, my son, and myself, we went to on the Camino this year, and we went to spend a day with the brothers, the Home of the Mother brothers in Las Presillas in Spain. We were going to Carabandal, and we took 3 days out, and I rented a car and we visited them. And in the evening, they would have their meal, and then they would have like a small talk with all of the young men there that are in discernment, and the priest, a discussion point. That's exactly how Christ made disciples. It was, working, traveling, working in a garden or building a house or helping, or do you know what I mean? It is that discipleship process. We think sanctity just happens like this. Actually, it's a process. You become the path to union with God, the path of transformation is a process. And I was really impressed by the simplicity of their beautiful place. I mean, you should see their chapel. Oh my God, what a beautiful chapel that they had. Absolutely. I mean, they won me over when I walked into their chapel and I said, you have such a beautiful place to contemplate. Do you know what I mean? It was absolutely beautiful, especially the images of our Blessed Mother, with stained glass windows and the frescoes in their chapel. It's a labor of love. But anyway, one thing I want to touch in with in the life of Sister Clare is her path to union with God. This isn't optional for you looking at my video, you, whatever Catholic you are here in Ireland. We can just bypass this thing called union with God. It's our vocation. It's your home. Whether you're a religious, whether you're a lay person, whoever you are, Christ is calling you to know him, to have union with him. And he's offering you the tools, the sacraments, that'll help you along that path to union with him. You know, confession involves a priest. Why did Christ leave that sacrament? Why did he give it to us? He gives us as it's a sacrament, but it's also a moment of discipleship where somebody will help you to see, to change. Do you know what I mean? A really important sacrament. Anyway, in this book, page 248, there is this piece, and I just want to read it out. And it's about her path to union with God. I felt that the Lord said to me, "What do you bring to the cross?" I responded, "My miseries, my sins, my idiosyncrasies, sobranos, my prideful idiosyncrasies, so that you can clean me." I held my hands with all these things up to Jesus on the cross. He took one hand from the cross and put my head into the wound in his side. Put on the mind of Christ was going through my head. I felt like he was cleansing me, nourishing me, like a mother feeds a baby with the blood from his wounded side. From above, he looked at me with a serious, loving gaze and said, "My daughter, if you knew how much I love you, Clare, I love you," he said with great intensity, with a love of predilection. She must have done this entry in Spanish, or some parts in Spanish, with love of predilection. In this experience, you see Sister Clare's intimate relationship with our Lord. You see that process of union with God, theosis deification. You know, if you want to bear fruit, you need to be united to Christ. And no one can say that Sister Clare hasn't borne fruit in Ireland. You know, the book, if you read it, you can see a woman being transformed by our Lord. Transformation. A true disciple. You know, go and make disciples of all the nations. The discipleship, you know, is a process of transformation. And, you know, I just found it interesting, no sooner than the flyer went out yesterday, that the news went round about Sister Clare. You know, so well received around Ireland. And we will now have the men's adoration for the third year in Derry. I have seen if men's lives transformed by this event. You know, sometimes you go to, in an ordinary parish, you know, you have confession times and nearly nobody turns up for confession, right? You know, I can speak of a local parish. Oh, the confession is on a Saturday at, you know, 5:30 to 6, and nearly nobody turns up. It's like the dead sacrament in the Irish church at the moment. And yet people, when they go on a pilgrimage, they go to Medjugorje, generally speaking, anybody that goes on a pilgrimage to Medjugorje will avail of confession because, oh, everybody's doing it. Well, I have something that I want to confess, and everybody's going to confession. It's quite obvious that, you know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people are going, so I'm going to go as well. And I think our Lord wants to capture this and say, okay, focus on bringing people to confession, you know. Focus on bringing people to confession. And this is an event where, you know, you can avail of confession as we start Advent next week. As we come into Advent, you know, avail of the sacrament of confession. If you haven't been to confession in many years, come. If you're struggling with something, come. You know, you do the possible and let Christ do the impossible. If you don't know how to make a confession, come. The priest will guide you. You just say, "Father, can you help? Can you guide me in doing a good confession?" He'll show you the way. You know, so many people are depressed. There's so much pain. And I want you really to understand how important this event is for men around Ireland. Now, speaking to women, obviously, women are not going to be excluded. If a woman turns up for the Adoration confession, there's nobody at the door stopping you coming in. And women have come with their husbands, and women have come with their sons. Bring them, especially your sons. Bring your kids. Bring them to confession. Understand the power of this sacrament. If you use the power of these sacraments, confession and the Eucharist, Christ can transform you. We turn away from acting in one way and we start acting in another way. We are transformed. And that is what Sister Clare Crockett is teaching in her life. A process of transformation. She became an ordinary, Derry girl. She's the true Derry girl. And she becomes a saint. Obviously she will be someday hopefully canonized a saint. But in our eyes, when you read her work, when you read her diary, our Lord took her so young in order for us to read this, because we would have never been able to read her life. I wouldn't be blogging about it. If she was still alive today, if Sister Clare, her diary could have remained there as something that, 60, 70 years might have been published, because generally speaking, people who are alive, we don't get a chance to read their personal life. And Christ, God, chose her at a certain time for a reason. So we get to read about her transformation. And Christ is the ordinary person in Ireland to be transformed by him, to be a saint. So, sorry that this video went on. I'm just going to, as I said, the men's adoration is 23rd of November in Galliagh, St.Jospeh's Galliagh. Lots of parking. You don't have to worry about parking. It's far easier actually to get to Galliagh than to Long Tower. In the sense, Long Tower doesn't have a great... there is lots of parking around it, but there isn't parking right up at the church. In Galliagh, you have tons of parking. No problem with parking. Come along. There are places around it. There's bathrooms. There's a hall. It's a very well laid out church. So come along to the men's adoration there. Adoration 2:30 to 5:30. There will be confession, which is really important. I'm really encouraging every man who comes to that to go to confession, and there will be a small talk before Mass, and then Mass at 7:30 p.m. The ordinary Mass at 7:30, which everyone can go to. So I'm encouraging people to come along and avail of this opportunity, of grace. So we just happy to be that it's back in Derry. Happy that it will be a beautiful day, and seemingly this is what our Lord wanted. He wanted it in Derry. So I don't know why. Why is it such a simple thing? But this is where our Lord wants it this year. So pray for the success of this thing. I'm going to put a link in the first comment to the WhatsApp group. You can keep in touch if you're coming to this. Obviously, be aware of any scammers out there that are trying to say, we all saw this fake parade in Dublin on Halloween. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people turning up for some non-existent fake parade. I wish they had turned up for Walk the Cross in the same numbers. But I suppose people will be fooled. But this is just beware of this. But this is a beautiful day. It's free. There might be a collection there for something, but as far as the event, just come. Okay, God bless you. Take care. Bye-bye.